Alright guys, so in episode 8 of Odd Taxi today, I feel like we're finally able to start piecing things together little by little because we've been fed breadcrumbs of our story so far and what's actually going on. And I feel like I'm finally starting to get a understanding of what the end game is going to be. Like I can picture it in my head now. And I feel like I'm getting kind of close to what's going to happen. But with this series, they always throw you for a loop, so who knows? I'm probably really wrong. But anyway, welcome back to the channel today, guys. As I said, we're here to talk about episode 8 of Odd Taxi, and it's a pretty good episode. I mean, the whole series is good, but y'all know what I mean. We're really heading towards the end game now. It really, truly feels that way. We're starting to head towards our climax with the events that have happened in this episode. So let's just get right into it and talk about it. So our episode begins today with Yano interrogating Kikihana, actually. And can I just say, why does Yano's character have, like, such a great beat every time he's on screen? Like, holy shit, man. His beat is crazy. I'm like, yo, what is this trap? This is some trap music shit. But it fits him so well. Because as we know, he raps every single word. So as he's interrogating Kikihana, I'm just listening to the beat like, yo, why does this shit kind of hit hard? But as I said, he's interrogating him. And he's trying to wonder, like, why do we have this guy? What's here? Because his little henchmen are saying, yeah, this guy's a fake. He's just a janitor and he doesn't have any money or anything. And Yano's kind of belittling him, like, what are you doing? And then Kikihana starts asking, like, where's Shiho? Is she okay? And Yano reveals to him, like, hey, man, if you still trust that girl, you're crazy. She set you up. She told me to wait for you so I could rob you. And Kikihana, just completely dejected, he just doesn't believe it. He refuses to believe it. But we'll come back to that in a second. Because in this next scene, we actually transition to Odakawa and Dobu. As Odakawa gets a call from Yamamoto, who, if you guys don't remember, is actually the manager of Mystery Kiss that asked to buy his cam footage off of him in the previous episode. And Dobu's listening to him, and he's like, oh, shit, isn't this the guy you told me about? Here, put it on speaker and be quiet, I'm not here. And Yamamoto asked Odakawa, he's like, hey, can you come pick me up? I need you to come pick me and one of these girls up. And we'll talk about that cam footage later. And Odakawa's like, alright, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Now Dobu tells him flat out, like, hey man, like, let me ride in the trunk. I need to know what this guy's up to. And Odakawa's like, no, I'll just ask him some questions. I don't want you involved with him. And they kind of leave it at that for now, as Odakawa decides to go pick this guy up. Before he leaves, though, Dobu tells him flat out, like, hey man, if he asks to buy your cam footage, tell him you'll sell it to him, but tell him you'll sell it to him for 1 billion yen. So Odakawa goes and picks Yamamoto up, and he's with Shiho. And they start discussing what their plans are. They tell Odakawa, hey, we want to go to the harbor. And Shiho asks him, like, oh, am I going to meet Yan... And before she mentions his name, she stops. And the manager's like, yeah, do that. And then Yamamoto starts asking about the dash cam footage again to Odakawa. He's like, hey, man, you thought about my idea of buying that footage off you? And Odakawa's like, yeah, I'll buy it off you. Or you can buy it off me for 1 billion yen. And Yamamoto thinks he's completely joking. Like, ah, good one, Odakawa. Then he quickly realizes, like, wait a minute, you're serious here. Odakawa's like, yeah, I am. And he's like, alright, give me some time to think. Because Odakawa tells him, yeah, I already had someone who's offered to get it off me for 900 million. Which, you hear these numbers, you think is crazy, but Yamamoto, he's like, alright, let me go talk to someone and I'll be back. We'll talk about this again. As they get dropped off at the harbor. And it's in this scene that we transition back to Kikihana and all them. And my one thing is confirmed in this episode. My one suspicion is that, yeah, I think Mystery Kiss is actually working with the Yakuza. Because when they go there, they hand this goon some money, and he's like, this doesn't seem like enough profits. Like, what's going on? So I feel like they really are working with them to try to get money. And it's in this scene that Kikihana finally realizes what Shiho's been doing. he's like, oh my god, Shio, why are you with him? You've been tricked, right? And she just flat out tells him, like, no, man, I was with you because we were running these scams and stuff, trying to get money out of people. Like, I didn't even like being with you at all. I was pained every time I was with you. And you can just see Kikihana's heart breaking in that moment. He just can't believe it. He's just so distraught in this moment. So Yamamoto brings up to the goon, he's like, hey, I need to talk to Yano about some stuff. Like, I need to talk to him about what's happened. And he starts explaining about Odakawa's cam footage, saying, yeah, someone said he's going to buy this off of him for 900 million. And this guy's like, he's clearly messing with you. But, I don't know. Because Yamamoto says, yeah, he might be, but we need to get this footage no matter what. He's like, Mystery Kiss is starting to become big, you know? We're starting to finally make some good money and get our name out there. And then he mentions that one of their biggest fans actually recently won $1 billion in the lottery. So, and he's thinking that, oh, he'll spend a lot of money on us in the process. This guy's like, wouldn't it just be better to rob him? Wouldn't that just be more efficient? And this is when Yano comes in, and he's listening to everything. He starts saying, like, so this guy wants 900 million yen, huh? For this. And then he deduces that Dobu must be involved somehow. See, in his mind, he thinks that Dobu's the one that is putting him up to it. And he thinks that he's going to do it by getting the money from, what was his name? Amai? I'm pretty sure it was Amai. By stealing that billion yen from him that he stupidly posted online. And he says that he's going to get the money from him. So in actuality, we need to play along with his plans for now so we can get that billion yen. And as they're making their plan to counterattack Dobu, his one goon asks him, like, hey, what are we going to do with this guy? Referring to Kikihana. And Yano just says, hey, he's just like an extra pawn in the game, guys. As long as we have him, we're ready in case any pitfalls happens. And he does something really cold here, man, that when I was watching, I was like, damn, that's rough. He takes Kikihana's phone and he calls his mom for him and tells him, hey, you better talk to her. This might be the last time you get to talk to her. And I was like, Jesus, that's fucked. But really intimidating. Oh, and a quick little tidbit I want to throw out is that we do get a little segment with Taichi in this episode today, where we see his perspective of the video he took in our previous episode, and he did not get Odakawa's face on camera, actually. He only got Dobu. He just got Odakawa's voice on camera. He has a little segment in his videos saying how, oh, like, I don't know who this person is with him, but we gotta find him no matter what. And that kind of transitions to Odakawa and Dobu talking. And in this instance, Dobu actually does start revealing his plan to Odakawa, who, very, very smartly, is recording the whole conversation. Supposedly for Little Diamond, as we know from our previous episode. And Dobu flat out tells him, like, yeah, I really am going to rob a bank. Confirming what Shirakawa told Odakawa a couple episodes ago. And he says, yeah, I paid off a bank teller, and I'm gonna rob this guy who stupidly said online that he won $1 billion yen. And that's my plan. I'm going to rob him blind. And Dobu reveals that, yeah, I'm actually playing Yano here. He's like, because I made you ask Yamamoto for $1 billion yen, that means that Yano is going to be forced to have to go after this guy. So in the process, I can kill two birds with one stone. Now, Odakawa, for his part, like, he remembers. He remembers it was Amai who was in his taxi before that won this money. So he's starting to come up with some plans already to thwart this. But before he leaves, he actually gets a picture of Dobu too, just completely cementing Dobu in his crimes. Like, he has this man completely dead to rights at this point. So he actually leaves here, and he messages Amai saying, hey, you're off work now, right? Let me come pick you up. Let me come pick you up right now. And he does, and he starts telling him, like, hey, you should probably wait a bit to withdraw that money because there's some people that are after you. And he's like, wait a minute, what? What's going on? What are you talking about? And he starts explaining to him, like, hey, like I said, you got some people coming after you. You were an idiot for posting this online. And you should probably get a new place for right now and lay low for a bit. He tells him to wait to withdraw the money. And he says something that really piques Odakawa's interest. He says a saying that only one character previously in our show has said. He's talking about Mystery Kiss, and he says, their spring is finally on the horizon. And Odakawa's like, wait a minute, who do I know that said that recently? And he remembers Kikihana in this instance, saying that in episode 1 of our show, actually. And he finally starts piecing it together. Because earlier, when he was driving Yamamoto and Shiho around, he even was looking at her like, where have I seen you before? And it's at this moment he finally realizes that this is the girl that Kikihana was talking to. This is her. It's been her this whole time. And Odakawa is just so mad at himself. Like, how did I not think of this? Because Kikihana's been missing for over a week, and he finally pieces it together that he's involved in all this, and that he's probably in trouble right now. And he has to make a plan to save him. This is kind of wild. But before we get out of here, I want to talk about one scene in particular in this show that really, truly piqued my interest. And I even had to write notes for this one, because I'm not that involved. I don't know like all the specifics of this, but we get a scene with Goriki and Shirakawa, actually, and they're discussing Odakawa in this instance. And he starts saying, like, yeah, I showed him this picture of someone from behind, and clearly normal people cannot recognize who this is. But Odakawa was able to recognize it instantaneously, that it was Kikihana. And he starts revealing something very, very interesting in this episode. And he claims that he thinks Odakawa has something called synesthesia, which I know I butchered that, but bear with me, guys. And he describes it as, it's where one sense is stimulated and a completely different sense is triggered. Now, if you don't know what that means, they even give an example. And the example they gave is, it's like it's like you're seeing colors or feeling textures when you hear sounds or see letters. So your senses are all over the place, all messed up. And he starts thinking that this is something that Odakawa has, because he goes back to his first encounter with him ever. And he realizes Odakawa is very strange then, that he's able to know about things he probably shouldn't be able to know about. And Shirakawa actually mentions that apparently Odakawa's been talking to someone in his house. And it's clearly not himself. And the doctor deduces that maybe he's made himself an imaginary friend. Because he's explained to Shirakawa that Odakawa's been alone his whole life. He was abandoned by his parents. And he puts on a front to seem to act like he's fine, but maybe he's more stressed than he realizes. And that stress could potentially have made him make an imaginary friend for himself. That's what he deduces anyway. And when he meets Odakawa later at the bar, he starts testing him a bit, giving him a bunch of different questions and stuff to answer, to try to really figure out what's wrong with him. Because him and Shirakawa had been doing that behind the scenes this entire time. And it really piqued my interest, guys. I really wanted to mention that because what's been wrong with Odakawa has been like kind of like an underlying thing throughout our whole show. Like, I still remember in our first 2 to 3 episodes, those flashbacks he had that are very interesting and really piqued my interest. Like, what's really going on with Odakawa? That's what I want to know. And they clearly want to know too. So I hope we find that out soon. And yeah, that's really our episode today, guys. A lot of things are happening. We figured out what Dobu's plan is and how he's going to execute it, and we know what Yano is going to do to try to counter that. And we saw that Odakawa has clearly been making moves of his own to stop both of them, as Shirakawa and Goriki are trying to figure out Odakawa. Lots of things happening at once, converging, guys, and yeah, this show just continues to be excellent. The show is clearly leading us in one direction, but I feel like they're kind of leading us by the nose, you know what I mean? I feel like it's too simple this way. I feel like they want us to think one thing's happening, and then something completely different is going to happen. So you guys let me know what you think down below, because that's what I think. But I think that'll be it for today's episode, guys. You know, just another great episode of Odd Taxi. Very interesting. This series just continues to pique my interest every week. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day today, the rest of your week, the rest of your month, and just the rest of your lives, honestly. But until then, guys, deuces, and have a blessed day.